Hello everyone and welcome back to Survived Unplugged. My name is Zach Kruger and gold is for winners! And this is important because our episode topic today is all about challenge and challenge threats. So to help me, I've brought a very special guest, former Alliance member of mine and challenge beast of season 1 of Survive McHenry, Nick Robeson. Welcome, Nick. How are you?
Hey, thanks. I'm great. It's good to be here.
How have you been doing since season 1? It's been a whole year.
Whole year? Amazing. So much time to learn more challenges, get better at challenges, and then come here and get ready for more challenges.
Yeah, I
So
heard
it's
you
awesome.
played a recent game too that was very challenge focused and you did fairly well.
Yeah, actually with my team member Angela, who's working media team lead, and she's been killing it. So yeah, this whole thing has just been like, dare I say it, one more challenge.
Okay. So then this topic is perfect for you. I'm very happy to have you on because I think in our season, other than all of the terrible challenges that we competed in together, where we had pretty good chemistry, right? We
Yeah.
won tug of war together. You competed in all 5 tug of wars just like I did, right?
Yeah.
And we won. So that was the one challenge we won together.
We crushed it.
I get voted off, and you go on to win 3 immunity challenges?
4 immunities.
Okay, so you're better than I thought you were.
Yes, I am.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about season 2 of Survive. I want to go through you all of the challenges we've seen so far. I want to talk about the players and how they did in each of these challenges, and then I want to talk about who's left in the game and who you think will become the new challenge beast of Survived Season 2. So let's get into it. I think our first challenge was called Relay for Camp. This was a reward challenge right off the bat. The tribes are figuring out who their people are and they're designating spots. Do I swim? Do I jump? Do I do a puzzle? Do I do a math? Do I do a puzzle? Do I dig through the sand? And it was a make it or break it moment for literally every single player on their tribe right there. Tell me what you remember about that challenge.
I think personally this was a really interesting challenge to start with because you're seeing a lot of players who want to fall into a role where they're going to do well. Obviously you don't sign up for the role you're going to suck at. But we're coming into these challenges and a lot of people don't really know what to expect. For example, with puzzles we had it hard, the Tower of Hanoi. Digging, people were getting exhausted. And you have to remember, these people are fresh coming into this game and it's probably about mid 90 degrees.
Very hot
people
here.
are tired, people are excited, people are nervous, and it definitely showed in the challenge. So it was really cool for me to be able to kind of get a gauge of where people think they're good, but also just see who can kind of control their nerves and actually perform under pressure and fill into those hero roles or maybe failure roles.
I mean, every role was a potential hero role. And
Yeah.
so what I remember, and you mentioned this, you need to pick your battles very strategically. Everybody had a moment, and they knew exactly what the first spot was, and that was jump off of a cliff into the water and swim. If I was picking a role, that would be the role that I would pick. Easy. And we saw who do that. I think it was Amanda and Alex.
Amanda and Alex, yeah.
So smart. Do you think they did that on purpose?
Yeah, I think probably that's one of the best moves you can make right off the bat. You're really just swimming to the end of the pool. There's not a lot of room for mess up. So, and you kind of give opportunity for maybe other tribe mates to mess up, but also shine.
Mm-hmm.
So by starting off strong, your tribe is going to see you as an asset rather than maybe a hindrance. So I think that was an excellent move on both their parts.
Now, I want to know, is there anybody in that challenge that really stood out to you that you remember?
Yeah, actually, your picture's up right here.
G doing the Tower of Hanoi? Is it
Yeah.
Hanoi or Hanoi? Because to me
Tower
that
of
would be
Hanoi,
very
yeah.
annoying.
It is annoying, but G stepped up in this kind of the final puzzle. This was, I think, the 9th test
I think
for
so as
this
well.
for this part of the
Mhm.
challenge, and this is kind of where the pressure was on, and neither player knew exactly how to do this challenge.
Mhm. It was G versus my mother.
Carrie,
right?
yes.
Mhm.
And we're seeing them both go back and forth, and it's tight. And once you could kind of almost see the light in your eyes. Just turn on. Yeah,
That
there
light.
it is. That's the face she made. And then it was, I got it. I figured out how to do this, and I think that really kind of solidified her in her tribe right off the bat as I'm going to be able to handle the pressure and move our tribe forward in challenges. And you know what? She ended up doing that in later challenges too.
It was definitely a really fun moment to watch. Now, just for fun, which of the stations would you have picked if you had the opportunity?
I think
for
I
your
would've,
strategic game.
maybe, personally me, I would have liked to stay in the pool. Either I'm going to jump off and swim or I'm going to dive in at the very end. It's pretty easy. I like the water and it was hot. I could have cooled off, so.
And you're a big guy, so you don't want to show people that you can like dig furiously through the sand or throw hoops or whatever else,
Or
right?
do puzzles.
Or do puzzles.
Yeah.
Is that I think about this a lot because you see people going after challenge threats in games like this and they're like, oh, he's so big and strong, we gotta get him out. But isn't it really the smart people you want out of these LRGs?
Absolutely. I mean, when you're playing these things, you got to be looking around. Like, some people are big and they're muscular and stuff, but that doesn't mean the lights are on all the time. I'm looking for the people who constantly have gears turning. Like that's who I'm looking for in challenges, because those are the people who are really going to shine, especially when we get to the individual part.
Yeah,
of the
I like
game.
them full of muscles and nothing in their head at all. Yeah, I agree. Let's go ahead and move on to the next challenge. The next challenge was called The Big Bang Theory. So this one, as the medical team lead, was really scary for me to watch, but we had no injuries. I'll remind you, we were rolling these giant cubes, 4 cubes I believe, all the way to the other end of the challenge area, and then they all had to get across these cubes with only a few players being on the ground to manipulate the cubes and jump cube to cube across to another finish line. And then we had to throw bags on top of a structure to knock off all these blocks and then solve 2 puzzles.
Right.
Do you remember that one? Tell
I
me
do,
what
yeah.
you noticed. Who were the standout players? And that, I mean, it's a lot. Very energy costly challenge.
Yeah, I think the second challenge was really kind of what we were showing to the contestants, that this is not going to be an easy challenge game. This is not something you're going to be able to breeze through and then go take a nap back at camp. You're going to be fighting and sweating, bleeding, and crying. Like, it's, and we had all those things happen. So
And we had it on season 1 too.
Yeah. So to have these guys come off a challenge like the first one where they're already tired and throw them immediately into this one, where it was like, yeah, you got to work, you got to earn it if you want that win. And we definitely saw some people working for it, so that was amazing to see.
Who did you notice? Give me some names off of Lazar, which was in purple. We get to see their whole team here, and then we have kind of in this side a brief picture of Jovian. The whole first part was not just physical,
Right.
It was also strategic. Who were the ones pushing the blocks, if you remember, and who figured out the best way to get across? Did anything pop up for you?
Personally, I saw this challenge as a lot more strength focused.
Okay.
So I think the 2 people who really shined were Jeff and Ryan. And because I saw each of them just almost throwing their blocks, just moving these things. And then when it came to start knocking puzzle pieces off with the bean bags, I saw both of them taking leadership roles with the throwing and both scoring blocks off.
You know what? You are absolutely right. I remember Jeff having an arm,
Yeah,
for sure, which
baseball
is
pitcher.
really interesting for a radio talk show
Right.
host. I don't feel like I know any radio talk show hosts that are like continuously throwing beanbags at blocks. And then let's talk about the last piece there. I'll be honest, I didn't even notice there were 2 full puzzles in that challenge. I thought it was one big puzzle. Did you know that?
I did not know that
There were
until
2
they started
puzzles.
kind of figuring it out.
Mhm.
One person who I noticed kind of start putting literally those pieces together was Danny on Jovian.
For sure.
He kind of stood back. He was taking an aerial view of the whole thing, and he said, "Hey, they
Danny uses
they
they,
said,
them pronouns. Thank you
excuse
for
me,
thank
sorry,
you, everybody.
yeah. Danny, they had this aerial view, and then they said, hold on, we got 2 puzzles here. And they immediately took a leadership role, and then they started getting it together immediately. And I believe Jovian did win that challenge, right?
No. So
No,
the
okay.
first 3 challenges were all won by Blazar.
Blazar,
However, Danny did take that leadership role, and they did sit down in the middle and start directing. I noticed Carrie was working really next to them, and Who else was moving around? I think it was Lena as well. And then on the other side, when Danny said that, I heard Mojo say the same thing
Right.
on the other side.
Immediately that started going back and forth.
It was, yeah.
And both tribes completely changed their strategy for putting the puzzles together.
Yeah, how funny would it be to think you have one full puzzle and then realize that you don't just have 4 corners of a jigsaw puzzle, you have 8.
Not for the contestants. They did not seem to think it too amusing. I thought it was pretty funny.
I don't know if you remember back to our first challenge this season with the puzzle where we had to do the towers.
Yeah, I remember.
I was completely useless, so.
Me too.
Well, let's move on. No more talk about puzzles. Not our strong suit, I don't think. Our next challenge was called Messy Memory, and I think this was paying homage to one of my favorite video games, which is Mario Party. I have my own game called Adapt, and I get a lot of inspiration from Mario Party as well. This is one where the players went one-on-one, side-by-side with a member of the other tribe, got an opportunity to look at a bunch of objects placed in some sort of specific pattern and memorize it as fast as they can, then run back over to their mat like we see down here. It looks like, who is this? Josh is doing this one. And attempt to recreate what they saw. Now, the catch of this challenge is once they think that they've got it, they can pull the sheet so that their opponent can't look at it anymore.
Right.
But you only get one shot to get it right.
That's it. Just one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't mess up.
Don't mess up.
And we saw a lot of mess ups.
How many mess ups did we see?
How many rounds did we have?
I think
10?
we had 10.
So we had 19 mess ups. There was only 1 point scored in this game.
Uh-huh.
But that's also a valid strategy when going into this challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't have to win every point. You just have to not lose against the other person.
100% agree. And we saw Blizzard realize that in the moment. I think it was 8 back to back to back to back to back 0 0 0 0. And the same strategy was being incorporated. I was on the sidelines saying, "What are you doing? We don't do the same thing over and over again expecting different results, right?"
And it was a hard challenge.
Sure.
And again, you have to remember these people have been working all day and it is hot. So a memory challenge is a tough thing to do. So it was really interesting, I think, to see them start thinking, hey, maybe we can't win this memory game, but we just need to not lose. And that's really what it came down to at the end. Was Blizzard was up by 1 point.
But why? Why were they up by 1 point? What happened in the 9th round that
Right.
didn't happen in the other 8 rounds?
So the curtain was not pulled.
Exactly.
And the memory, all the items were just out on the front, and someone checked. I forget who it was, but they were incorrect.
I
And
think that was Meredith versus Marisa. I think it was
Marisa.
Meredith on Jovian, pink, versus Marisa on purple.
So Marisa was able to just go check as many times as she wanted to, and she was able to get it correct and get the point, which led us into our final round, where it was G versus I can't remember, but it was a really smart move. You don't have to get it right; you just have to make sure they don't get it right. So G, once again putting herself in that hero role, pulls the curtain,
Game
runs
over.
back, and says, "Check, it's wrong."
Game over.
But it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really cool challenge move there.
Yeah, love it. This is a mental challenge, but also a strategy component. But then we have the physical component. It's an everything challenge.
Yeah,
Would
definitely.
you have loved to play this?
No,
No.
I don't want to play this one.
I would have loved to play this one. I'm curious how well I would have done. So that was it for day 1. 3 purple wins. Jovian's pretty upset. And then I think what happens next is we have this big twist in the game, right? Somebody gets abducted during the first tribal council, and Carrie and Amanda switch. Now we have almost the same tribes, but it's technically a tribe swap. And then we move into the next challenge called Across the Universe. Now this was fun to watch.
This was a really cool challenge.
So much fun. I think you and I competed in it afterwards.
Yeah.
Who do you guys think won? Go ahead and leave it in the comments. But this challenge was all about balance. Maybe not all about balance. I'll let you agree or disagree. We had to get across this crisscross. I think there were 3 different cross balance beams while holding a block on their little station, and they had the opportunity at each intersection, if they were close to each other, to potentially attempt to knock each other's blocks off of their little holder.
Yeah.
But you can only touch up here and on accident, maybe the lower part of your arm.
It happens.
It happens. Physical contact. So I say physical, but also strategy game.
Definitely a strategy game. I think we saw a lot of contestants come out here and they said, maybe I'm not going to be great at the balancing, so I got to swat. Or some people said, I'm not going to be great at fending off an attacker, so I just need to move. And it was really cool to see a lot of these matchups because personally for me, two people who really stood out was Carrie and Danny. And they just
100%.
both flew across these beams. Maybe they weren't going to be able to stop someone if someone big was like, I'm just going to come and try and hammer down your block, because then you're not going to get past them. So they just quickly maneuvered their way through and got the point. So it was cool to see this one too. It was a fun one. I like this one.
I 100% agree on your assessment of the standout stars of that challenge. Now, while we saw Jovian finally win, so a pink win, so unfortunate for my mother, Danny and Carrie, I believe, were the only two that went twice and got both of their points.
Both their points, right.
And so now we don't have these like built-in standout roles. There's no final puzzle at the end, and there's no picking what challenge. You're showing your stuff right here.
This is it, all out on the table.
Really fun. Really fun.
This is a good challenge.
And we got to play it, so
yeah,
that was fun.
That was a lot of fun
too. Let's go into our next one. Just for the sake of time, this one was called Black Hole. Wow, what a
yeah, this is great.
I love this shot. Good shout out to Elaine for getting this photo, or whoever did. So this challenge, we had the opportunity to again jump off our giant cliff into the pool. Swim all the way across the pool, and then our players had one opportunity to throw a ball through a maybe twice as big circumference of the ball.
Yeah.
Did you say?
Yeah, like a basketball kind of
hoop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Before they have to get out and move on to the next one. And what do we have to score? Did we have to score 9?
I believe 9 was the... Yeah.
9. Tell me about this. Who are the standout stars? What was the result? How long did it take?
This almost became an endurance challenge,
Yeah.
which is crazy to see because you see these people getting out of the pool and they're like, they look up at this thing they got to climb and they just, they got to keep moving. But that's part of it too, and it was definitely a fun one. It took a long time though because I think people were getting flustered and they were jumping off, they were swimming as hard as they could, and then they just had to stop, take a second, score a point. And that's the hard part. That's where people were messing up. So it was really interesting for me to see kind of who's calming down, who's making these shots. But also it's fun for me. I want to see who's moving in the water. Who are the quick swimmers?
You're a water creature.
I love the water challenges. So this was fun for me to see, okay, who's going to be successful later in later pool challenges.
So you think there's more pool challenges?
I'd count on it.
Okay. How more? I only got to do one. How many pool challenges were in our season?
4, 3.
Okay.
3 pool challenges.
And you won 2 of them, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the one that we lost together again was actually very similar to
Very
this one,
similar,
right? We
very
just had
similar.
slingshots instead
of baskets.
throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I think I probably would have been a lot better.
I think
at
me
this
too.
one. Yeah.
Me too.
Did you even get a chance?
I didn't even get to go.
You didn't get a
yeah.
chance. Okay, so to be determined. Maybe we can try
TBD,
and play
yeah.
that one again. You versus me. How about that?
This is a reoccurring thing.
So you mentioned what it takes to win a challenge like this, and you hit the nail on the head. This was really like our first endurance challenge in a way. Who were the standout stars? And did you notice anything super interesting happening during this challenge?
I wish I was watching better because I heard that some people were having some cross-alliance talks, and that's always really fun when that happens. Big standout for me, Amanda scored 3 points in this challenge.
She did.
That's insane.
Amazing. And Amanda...
Some people didn't even score 1.
Right.
So that was a really cool thing to see.
So not only Amanda was taken away from her tribe and put in a really alienating, on brand spot.
Then she's kicking her other tribe's ass.
Yes!
You know?
Yes! She had an absolute arm on her. So cool to watch. And we know that she, in that very first challenge, she also jumped off. She chose to jump off in the very first one. Was that like foreshadowing, do you think? Like, hey, this is what I can do. And
she
now
said, hey, I'm actually really good at this, and we're going to do it again. So she did really good. Another standout for me physically, swimming, was Kevin.
Totally.
Kevin
Fast.
was ripping through the pool,
Mhm.
and that was awesome for me to see, because I like to see that competitiveness. People who are just itching for the win.
Mm-hmm.
All that aside, Danny and Mojo, very interesting in this challenge, because they were the ones chatting, and they have a history together.
They do, and I know all about that history, but you tell me your thoughts.
Well, I kind of viewed both of them as these guys are big threats in the game overall. Challenges, they've been doing well. Socially and strategically, also doing very well. So they've had a previous game. I guess they went really far together. Final 4 alliance, and they're
Final 5. Actually.
Final 5,
Yeah. Mhm.
and they're also really good friends.
Yeah.
So that could be something to keep an eye on. If they both make it to merge, are they going to link up? Or are they going to stay apart? Maybe they'll gun for each other. So
I also know in that my season that I played with them, both of them did win in individual immunity challenge as well. So they are threats in individual.
I
game.
definitely could see both of them winning individual immunities
Mhm.
later.
Do you think anybody else noticed?
I don't know. I don't
We'll
know.
Find out. We'll
We'll
find
see.
out more.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on those confessionals. I think that's all for day 2. We just had those 2 immunity challenges, and we lost. Who did we lose in Across the Years? I think we lost Dawn and Carrie, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So now we head into day 3, which was today. We actually don't have very many pictures of today, so we're just going to have to go off of what we know. The next challenge this morning was called X Marks the Spot, which you and I both got a chance to play in. So much fun. This one, there's a word puzzle. Was it a word puzzle this time as well?
Word puzzle as well. Same
Wonderful.
word puzzle.
Same one?
Yeah, same one.
Oh, wow. That would have been really fun to watch. I didn't wake up very early this morning, so I missed out on that one. But just as a reminder, the players have these individual symbols. Ugh. Remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Where they have to solve a puzzle to see how these symbols match up, cross ropes, dig through the sand, which we discussed earlier is actually pretty hard sometimes, and then unscramble pieces to a brand new puzzle until we get to the final word scramble. Very fun, a mix of mental and physical, pretty much half and half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about how you did in that challenge, because we were for the very first time on opposing tribes and you won.
Yeah, right. I don't know if it helped that I also just kind of knew like animal tracks. Like I'm from this area and it's pretty common animals, but I was like, oh yes, I know this. So I didn't have to maybe match it up. I was like, okay, we're looking for a deer and a fox. I was like,
Boom and
those
boom.
two, you
Mhm.
know. So I think that definitely gave me an edge in the challenge. Also, it's important to remember we've added probably a good foot or 2 of sand on top of this. So
Were they
before,
deeper?
when we could kind of just go like that
Uh-huh.
and grab our piece, these people are down there on their hands and knees, whole tribes, surrounding areas, just going crazy.
Oh.
And you could see it in this challenge. They had the right spot. I believe it was the Jovian tribe. They had the right spot. All of them are gathered around, just digging fiercely. And they're looking for a tile maybe about that big. So, size of the sticky note, maybe.
Wild.
So, it is wild. And they just missed it, and it costed them the challenge.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't see. So who won this one? Was it Blizzard?
This was Blizzard, if I'm correct. I'm almost
Purple
positive.
Tribe?
Blizzard,
Can we
yeah.
get a verification on that? Is that Blizzard? Yes? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So then Jovian goes to Tribal Council after winning 2 in a row. So it's kind of
Right.
been back and forth with these tribes,
Very,
despite
very,
a switch
push and pull.
with
yeah.
the whole Galaxy Curse twist. And so now that means Amanda's not gonna. She's safe at that one. Who-
Amanda had immunity at this tribal,
Uh-huh.
but she is
No longer immune.
no
Okay.
longer immune.
So in this one, who did you see stand out on the tribes? Do you remember? Who was leading it? Who led Blizzard to victory?
I don't know if I necessarily saw anyone stand out. What's interesting when I'm watching Blizzard and Jovian compete is Blizzard seems a lot more uniform in their teamwork. They're communicating, and sometimes they'll get frustrated with each other, but they know that they can move past it and keep that teamwork together. Jovian, on the other hand, I feel like I'm seeing multiple groups kind of trying to work together when they're competing.
Got it.
And I think that's been giving Blizzard a lot more of an edge in these challenges.
In particular, challenges that require
Right.
teamwork.
So I don't know if I maybe saw anyone shine, but definitely I saw Blizzard work better as a team here.
Wonderful. Right after that, we had Splashed and Maze, another very energy costly challenge. This was kind of a water challenge. I don't know if it's the type of water you enjoy.
Everyone was wet.
Everyone was wet. Everyone was wet. We had to go, our tribe mates had to go across with these skis that we did in our very first season as well. I was on the skis. It was super hard.
It is hard. Yeah.
And then after that, they raced to fill up 3 individual. How many gallons are those? I don't know. I'm not
Like
really
those
good.
water fountain
Jugs.
jugs, yeah. They're
Full
big.
of water to get out 3 balls to then move across to the same table that we did in our very first challenge and
Right.
score 2 balls right in
You
dead
have
in
a
the middle.
maze table,
maze.
ball, right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So again, lots of opportunity for people to shine. What did you notice?
It was a very exhausting challenge. That's what was kind of fun about it, because people really they thought the other ones were hard. I think this is probably where I saw the most people dropping or slowing down.
Yes, as the medical lead, I had my eyes on quite a few people,
Yeah.
but everyone was safe. We did good.
It was really fun to see the different strategies of how they were going to transport these water into their jugs to get these ping pong balls or whatever. Something that really stood out to me was Angela just running up to the bucket, dousing her shirt, whatever else she could find, her buff, and then she just dunks her face in the water, takes a big swig, and she's right back there into the jug, spitting water, squeezing her t-shirt.
Yeah,
And if that's just not resourceful, it was really cool.
You think maybe they're just staying hydrated, but they're actually still playing the
Yeah.
challenge. Angela's not the only one I saw doing that, though. Lena was doing that. Meredith was
Yeah.
doing that. A lot of the women in this challenge were getting wildly creative. They were using their long hair. I honestly didn't even see Jeff or Danny, who they also have long hair. They weren't using those strategies. I saw a lot of mental strategy coming from the women in particular in this game.
Sometimes the best part of challenges is just watching the contestants figure out a better way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can be the difference between winning and losing. Who's figured out, all right, my shirt's wet, I'll squeeze that in there. And sometimes that little bit of water is all it takes to get a win.
I 100% agree. So there was also an apparatus with a giant stick and 3 different cups, and we saw them being used in very different ways on each tribe. And if you're gonna fill up that apparatus with all 3 cups, you have to pour into all 3 jugs at the same time to get the most amount of water and save time.
Right.
But in between that, you have to have people trying to squeeze every bit of water out as they possibly can, because that's going to take time to fill up, right?
It was very much everybody needs to know what they're doing.
Have a role.
Have a role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody needs to have a role, and everybody needs to be doing it well. And also staying out of each other's way.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. And I was close because I was filming that one too. And I was dodging and ducking under people. So it was
So you're having your own little challenge over
right.
there.
It was getting physical.
I do want to talk about 2 other players in that particular portion that I really love seeing. I think my favorite way that people chose to put water into those jugs, and probably the most effective, was the green bucket that had all of the holes in it. I saw Alex getting really creative, putting the frisbee underneath the holes to catch as much water and then pour it in. Nobody was helping him with that, though, so he was just getting as much water as he could. Wonderful strategy. Whereas Jorge was just filling that thing all the way up and dumping in. Very accurate. It's probably why his tribe ended up going to the table puzzle first.
Jorge was like a freight train.
Absolutely.
It was insane watching him in that challenge.
Absolutely.
Because he was nobody was helping him. He had the bucket, it had holes full of it, and he was just running back and forth, bam, right back, filling up gallons. So he definitely did a good job. But you're losing so much water because the holes in the buckets. I think that was a really intuitive thing for Alex to do.
So
and I'm
smart.
really excited to see what he's he's got in store. I
I'm
think
in-
he's a threat too.
I'm an Alex stan. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
He's my draft pick. So,
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. Well, my draft pick got eliminated.
Something
so-
we can agree on.
Okay, for once. No, we had a great alliance. We had a lot of things to agree on,
It's great.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Last part of that challenge, the tabletop. Any
Right.
standout stars? Because there's so many different ways to do that, but at the end of the day, 4 different people all have to work together muscularly.
It's hard.
and
It's a heavy
and
table.
use dexterity.
Yeah.
Did you do it on our
Yeah,
season?
yeah.
I stayed way away from that.
It was hard. We got through it pretty quickly. These tribes didn't, but granted, they were also exhausted by the time they got there. And we definitely saw a lot of kind of frustration between the tribes, just because this is a hard challenge and they're already exhausted. So
Yeah.
people were tense and
Who
they
did-
were kind of
who did you
making
notice
comments
barking?
at each other. I noticed James making a lot of comments, and I noticed Jorge having to be like, "All right, we need to calm down."
And they ended up losing that one.
They did lose that one.
Do you think that is a reason why?
It's hard to say. I think ultimately, I just saw better teamwork from Jovian. Everybody seemed to have a role more there, especially on the puzzle. So even though they were coming from behind, they were much more calm and they were much more, just calm under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really funny to me is we saw Alex laying under the table, catching the balls, right, as they were falling. I think Jovian actually sank more balls in the holes, but just because they had that quick recovery time,
Uh-huh.
who knows? So it just takes a second to make or break a challenge.
Yeah,
So that was really funny for me.
It
to
was
see.
funny. It was scary for me as the
Right.
medical lead because I'm sitting here like waiting for somebody to get frustrated and let go.
Drop
and
a table, yeah.
So really happy that didn't happen. Finally, let's move on to the last challenge. We just finished watching it. Luckily for everybody in the game, it was only a reward challenge, a really fun reward challenge. They got a party on a yacht in Mykonos. No, sorry.
Close.
So close.
Yeah.
Going on a boat, and then another tribe ended up getting some food. But the fun thing is we split into 3 new tribes. I would love to start talking about that. Let's see. This is Escala. This is the new tribe here. And they're the ones that lost this one. They got nothing. They didn't get to choose what camp, so they're going to a brand new camp with nothing in it and just have the company of each other to learn about each other and no food. So these are going to be the most worn out players in the game, likely.
Absolutely.
Tell me what you see here and what you saw in that challenge with this particular tribe.
So it was kind of tough to see this challenge just because it was completely a logic puzzle.
Let's talk about who do we have?
Right, okay. So we have Mojo, Kevin, both from Blizzard. And then we had Lena, Alex, and Ryan from
Correct.
Jovian.
Mhm.
So a pretty nice, even split. What I really like about this is that just knowing a little bit of the tribe dynamics, these are players who all are kind of open to making new alliances. So I think sometimes when your morale is low, that's when you make good relationships. So I think these guys could be an amazing underdog coming in tomorrow. We have a really good mix of people. Ryan, Kevin, Lena really strong. I see Alex and Mojo and Lena too. Really clever, really these are these players I'm talking about who are always thinking.
I see the same thing you're seeing. This is a triple threat kind of tribe when you look at it. So I'm honestly a little surprised we lost this one. I know Mojo and Alex are the thinkers. I know Kevin and Ryan are very physical. I know Kevin and Lena and Mojo are wildly social. You've got a lot of.
I'm really excited to see what these guys bring to the table tomorrow.
Okay, so who do you see as a potential challenge threat going into the merge if they make it that far?
Challenge threat, I think Kevin personally has been holding back a lot in the challenges.
Very interesting.
And it's not a bad idea. You really want to shine, obviously, in the individual. But I think when he starts getting into a more, this is for me now, we're going to start seeing him really come out and start winning.
I agree. I think I would put Alex up there, actually. I remember he did the grappling hook on that one challenge, and he did really well at first. I think it was really more of a physics issue with how the bag kept
angling and stuff,
but he wasn't afraid to step up into that role, and we know he's smart, and we know he's got creative solutions to problems. So
personally, this tribe is what I'm most excited to see. I think these guys are going to be really lethal.
Cool.
Upcoming here.
Cool. Let's move on to our next one. Jovian, this was our second place tribe? Oh no, this was our
winning
tribe. Okay, so they're on a yacht right now.
Right.
And they got a shower too.
This was a really fun one for me, seeing these guys, because right away I said, that's the winning tribe.
You knew.
I knew right off the bat. I said, these guys are winning.
Why did you say that?
I just like noticing who the competitors are. I said, these guys are all game players who handle stress well.
Okay, so who do we have?
So we have James, G, and Jorge, who are all from Blizzard. And then we have Amanda and Natalie from Jovian. But we need to remember, Amanda is an original Blizzard member. Also worth noting, Jorge and James are like this in this game together. Mm-hmm. They're working together very closely. So this will also be a really fun tribe to watch. And I think a very dangerous tribe, especially if they're winning challenges and they're not going to tribal. I think come merge time, we're going to see a lot of these 5 players really come out in prominent positions.
I think I agree with you. I am most worried for Natalie over here. I think she has so much game in her. We've discussed her on the past 2 episodes as being a dark horse, and here she is with 4 former Blizzard members.
Strong Blizzard members.
What will it take for Natalie to stay in this game?
I'm betting on her, personally.
Yeah?
I think Natalie has been kind of flying under the radar a lot, and she's coming into a tribe where she really can't do that. And if she does, like, that's just a bad move. She's, like, if we're talking technically, she's on the bottom. But this is a really great time, especially if you're on a boat and eating and having some drinks. This is, honestly, this could be a Final 5 alliance right here.
Okay.
So this will be a really cool one to watch and see what happens.
Okay, all right. Let's go on to our final tribe, the new Blizzard. We have Angela, Danny, Meredith, Savannah, and Jeff. Now, this is an interesting group.
I love that picture.
I love the picture. It's so fun. Tell me what you think here. This was our second place tribe in this last reward. They got the second choice of camp, and they got a little bit of food. I have no idea what they got to eat, but at least some sustenance. What do you see here?
Personally, I think this is probably one of the most versatile tribes. This is where
even more so than
just talking about, like, yeah, I would say even more so than Escala.
Okay.
Just we're really pulling from a lot of different angles here. So let's see, we have Angela, Danny, Meredith, and Jeff are all Jovian. Is that correct?
So
let's see, Angela
and Savannah were
Old Blizzard.
Blizzard. Danny, Meredith, and Jeff seem to have the edge on the 2 ladies here if we were to follow old tribal lines.
What's really fun, though, is that the old Jovian players have not really been working together much, like strategy talk.
We have heard that in the past.
These 2 are extremely close, though. So sometimes a tight 2 can overcome a majority alliance if they can just be a little bit more clever with how they're working angles.
You just need one.
So all 3 of these tribes are going to be really fun to see.
So
how it shakes down.
If Savannah and Angela have a chance, who do they flip?
I think they'd probably want to go for maybe Meredith. We could go with an all-girls alliance, or I think Danny is probably going to be one of the best people to want to work with. It's also worth noting, Jeff and Angela have some previous connections with each other.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I believe that is from Reelfoot, where Angela actually won her season. And Jeff, who's just seems to kind of be in the know for everything. So it's going to be really cool to see how this one plays out.
This is definitely a big question mark as well. Any challenge threats, any future challenge beasts on this tribe that you see?
That really shines out to me. We got to be looking out for Danny.
Danny is pretty great.
They're a triple threat, and they've been kind of crushing challenges, especially when they're thrust in that hero role. So I'm really excited to see what they got in store.
I am as well. All right, so that's all for everything that we've done so far. We've talked about pretty much every single player and what we think about their threat level physically, mentally, strategically going forward. One thing we haven't talked about that all of our viewers already know is there are 4 players that still could potentially come back in the game, and we don't know how many more until the battle back.
Right.
Talk about the battle back. We had one last year.
This is a huge factor of the game, and because it kind of made it got
Kept
you
me
through
in the
one
game
more round.
one more
Right, it
round.
was the battle back. So it's almost impossible to try and even predict how it's going to affect the game, but I've spent a lot of time with these players in their camp, and they are all gamers. They all want to win, and they're really passionate about getting back into the game.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited to see what they got.
Yeah, because you've been filming them. Just give me a quick reminder, who is in the elimination galaxy at this
Right.
moment waiting to get back in the game?
So we have Don, we have Carrie, we have Josh, and we have Marisa.
Marisa most recently voted
Most
out.
recently, yes. And then we'll be seeing a few more players tomorrow as well.
Okay.
I think one of the most interesting thing about this battle back group, if you want to call them, is that they've kind of been facing the elements, I think, more than anyone. They are really out in the wilderness, and they are just laying in the heat, not doing a thing, right?
Bummer, man.
Bummer.
Okay.
Which is hard because you got to keep your mind sharp
So
in this game.
when I hear that, I think of last year. And last year we had an 8-hour endurance challenge where Kira stands on a post,
stump, yeah.
hanging on to, what was it, the immunity idol?
Right.
For as long as she can until she beat every other pre-jury player. Gets back into the game, we switch tribes, and she comes back onto my tribe, and first thing she asks me is, why did you vote me out? And luckily for me, I got her forgiveness. But the fun thing about that is when I hear you say that they're staying outside, is it going to be an endurance challenge again? Will that be really hard?
We have no idea. But regardless of the heat and just the constant downtime is taking a toll on these players. I actually spent the night with them outside last night, yeah.
So you know exactly what they're going to.
Yeah, it was tough. It was hot, and morale is low out there, especially just getting voted out of the game. But I think that really makes a lot of them hungry to get back in and, maybe get some redemption.
Okay, so we have 4
it's
players
cool.
right now. We have no idea what the challenge is, and we have no idea how many players are actually going to be in this battle back. Let's go through all 4 of them. Don,
Okay.
Don, does he have a chance coming back in? What do you think?
Absolutely, I think Don does. Just speaking to him, I get that winner's mentality from him. He's gonna go into these things, and he's just gonna this is what I have to do to get it done.
What kind of challenge does Don win over the other 3, do you think?
I think I'd probably see more strength based from Don, but he's also a clever person too. He's one of those people, the gears are always turning up there.
He talks a lot, I think, so
Yeah,
I
right.
believe that.
So, but what's cool is you can tell when he's working, when he's thinking, because he's not talking.
Got it.
And that'll be interesting to see from Don. Carrie, I think, was probably one of the most passionate people about getting back into the game.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah, your mom. She was in tears, right, when we told her there was an opportunity. So I think we're going to see a lot of fire from her, whereas maybe she's not as strong as Don or the young guy Josh. She's got that passion and that will to win, so that'll be fun.
I will attest my mom does have a will of fire for
Yeah.
sure, so I'm curious. I think we've seen her in balance, so we know she's got stability. My mom is also a hairstylist. She can endure.
Steady hands?
She can
Yeah.
stand in one place for a long time.
And
so.
that's typically what we see from battle backs, is it's more of a kind of an endurance based challenge. We don't know what it is, but
Puzzles though, if it's a puzzle, I don't know if she's got a shot in that one. Who was our next player out?
next we have Josh.
Josh.
He is the youngest in this group by a lot, which gives him a huge advantage, right? So I feel like we haven't really seen Josh shine much in challenges, but he has been vocal, and I do think he has that capability. So this could be the time to prove himself and maybe get back into the game.
And then finally, Marisa?
Marisa, we love Marisa.
We love Marisa.
She is also very passionate, and I think she is one of those players who, again, always thinking, what's their next move going to be? In their exit interview, she talked a lot about her family, and she said, this is what's pushing me to keep fighting. And while I'm exhausted and I'm at peace with the decision, I have to go back into this keeping my family in mind. And that's a powerful thing. When you have something that you're fighting for and you really want to win for, that can carry you through an extra 10 minutes in endurance challenge. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for all of your wonderful insight on our Season 2 cast. It's quite a diverse cast as far as ability, and I am also very excited to see who goes further. I thought, though, just for old time's sake, that we might do something fun at the end. What do you say we test how much of a challenge beast you really are a year later?
If you're ready to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to lose. I am not familiar. I'm very familiar with losing, so I don't mind. But I'm curious if you feel the same. Does this look familiar to you?
Yeah, this was actually in the first relay challenge. So.
Do you want to go up against me and see who can win the Tower of Hanoi?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay. All right. So what we'll need is somebody to count us down, and the goal of this game is to get all of these puzzle pieces completely to the other side. We can do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Players know, the viewers know what we're doing. And you cannot stack a bigger piece on top of a smaller piece. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So I've never done this before. Have you ever done this before?
I've seen it.
Okay. I think I've seen it, but we saw it earlier, right?
Yeah.
So, if you've done it before, that's fine. Don't go easy on me.
All right.
Deal?
Deal.
Okay. So I'm gonna count us down. All right. We're gonna get a countdown and everything. Hands up like this.
All right. We're going 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
This is so loud. Oh, shoot. I think you got me. No. Ah, okay. Challenge Beast is still a Challenge Beast. Immunity goes to Nick Remison. Thank you so much for being here. I love you very much. All right, that's all for our episode today. Stay tuned for a really fun, unique episode tomorrow. And don't forget to root for our players that are still in the game and start speculating about the battle back. It's coming soon. Thank you. Have a good night.
Oh yeah.
You gotta keep talking.